Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Next Bite of Life podcast. My name is Kem Kem, and today my guest is Muyiwa Adebiyi. He's in the UK, and I am in Spain. So say hello to everyone, Muyiwa.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. I hope you're having a good day out there. Yes, how you, Ken Ken?
Fine, thank you. Now, Muyiwa, you're a podcaster, and his podcast is called Day in Day Out podcast. You can find it on YouTube or iTunes or any one of those platforms that you listen on. And I'm so happy that you were able to appear on the show today. Yes. Now, what led you to podcasting?
Well, what led me to podcasting? In some respects, I was typically the person who would go, okay, yeah, you should do a YouTube channel, or yeah, you should do a blog about this, or yeah, you should do like a podcast. And I was saying this to a number of different people, but I said this to my friend Stephen Ball. He's YouTube channel called Bullies Boot Camp. But he was like, okay. I was like, yeah, you should do a podcast. And it was like, yeah. And it was like, what? Because what about you? And so it sort of triggered that sort of thought in my head. But also the other reason was a case of, okay, uh, as time goes by, we get older. We have a legion of friends when we're in our teens. And basically when we get into our 20s, we have like still a big group of friends. Hit our 30s, that big group of friends shrinks even further. When you
Yeah.
hit your 40s, yeah, it's just like my ride or die crew. And I
Yeah.
was finding myself having less conversations. So it was a conversation, it was a combination of both. Me basically telling everyone to do this, do that, but not actually putting no coin or time into it. So it was like going, yeah, me, well, either put up or shut up. And two, like, yeah, I needed to still continue to learn and grow from a number of different people around the world. Fortunately, I have had the pleasure of like speaking to you on my podcast, as well as now another 109 people
Wow.
uh, with that. So
That's
yeah,
amazing.
so hey, and like
That's
this is the
great.
thing.
Yeah. So now,
Anyone, yeah,
so you've been doing this for about a year now, and obviously
yeah.
you're still loving it. So you plan on doing this and growing your audience and making this like, full time bang on, right?
Well, basically the plan is like keep going, keep going, keep going, and like if I get the opportunity to speak to more and more people, if it can grow into something which can be like, okay, sustain me full time, that'll be great. But if it's something which is just a side thing, that'll be cool too. I'm not going to complain about that, but as long as I still have the opportunity to speak to people, get this done, it's great. Because look, so many people out there who like get on to like doing podcasting, could be blogging, it could be YouTube, like, hey, it could even be TikToking. Like they go, right, I'm out there. I'm doing it. I'm
Yeah.
doing it. I'm 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 doing it. And most people's sort of length of time with doing that type of thing, like if it's podcasting, about 5, 6 episodes. Oh, no one's listening to my podcast. Look,
Yeah.
yeah, don't expect anyone to listen to your podcast, not unless if you have a huge following from somewhere else. Don't
Exactly.
expect to monetize your podcast or
Yeah.
like if, unless you have a huge following from somewhere else. Oh yeah, if it's YouTube and I go, oh yeah, why am I not monetized? Who knows you? It's like this is
Exactly.
one of the yeah.
It takes a lot of hard work. And that is something that I've talked to people about, or people ask me about. And it's always like, how can I make so much money? And I was actually just speaking with a friend of mine in LA. And what happened was we had looked at some property together. And I told her, think about it. She liked this condo that she wanted to buy. And we talked on Saturday afternoon, and Monday morning she came in and she's like, while we were there, I met some guy, and he was having a talk about real estate and how I could make thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars, like, overnight as a realtor or investor. So she went on Sunday to this thing for hours. He charged her over $1,500. She took
Yeah.
it and she put, she put a an offer in on the condo, and by Monday morning she had purchased it just on a whim, and so she's like, I hate being a landlord, I hate doing this, but she's like, I'm stuck with it. And I go, why would you rush? There's no quick way. But that was like 7 or 8 years ago, and she wrote me recently, and she's like, I still have the condo and I still hate it, but at least it's paying itself, like with the renters in there, because it's in Santa Monica, so it's a very desirable area. So she got
Yeah.
lucky. But a lot of
Ah,
people think that everything you do, you'll be able to make a success of it in like 10 minutes, and it doesn't happen that way. There's nothing like hard
no.
work. That's the only secret. They can sell it to you for however much they want.
Yeah, no, but like instant gratification, like society, that's what we live in. And like basically, look, you can't like your friend is extremely lucky because like
Yes.
1,500 and bought the condo. Look, because these days, especially if you're on YouTube, you see a number of different like cool scam things come up on adverts, and you're kind of like, okay, yeah, if you pay this much
Yeah.
and you're getting it vastly reduced, and then you got to pay this much and that much. And when it comes to like property,
Yeah.
like depending where you are in the world, property, like people don't, you can't necessarily just walk out and buy a property if you're trying to just like get like cash from here and there. And people are told you can, and it's like going, wait, but you're just like turning 18 in the UK or
Yeah.
like over 21, and you want to get finance for how much money without any credit history?
Because they see, oh, sure, okay, somebody tells you can do it, and you think, oh, sure, I can do it. All you have to do is put a sign on the side of the street saying, we buy your house for cash or something. And I'm just like, but people are so gullible, but then, they have real courses that they can do and pay not too much money, but they don't want that. They want the person who promises them that they can do it, in 1 second or one day or whatnot. So it's nice to have sensible people that know that there's nothing like hard work and perseverance, right?
Yeah, but like this is the thing. It's kind of like have you heard of the bamboo shoot like story metaphor? Like
No.
basically, okay, basically a bamboo, like if you like want to grow bamboo, you have basically got to take care of it for 5 years, watering, feeding it, making sure the conditions are right. Then after 5 years, it will grow like 60 meters, like
Sweet.
bam, within about 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I might be wrong about that time, but it just like, yeah, from nothing to explosive growth. But no one kind of looks at the 5 years
Years.
beforehand to make it go, okay, right. And like, this is the thing, no matter what you do, if it's podcasting, YouTube, like investing in property, stock markets, everything like this, people got to realize it's not going to be one of those things where, yeah, it happens right away. It might take 5 years.
Yeah.
It might, if you're lucky, it might happen immediately if you've doing
Exactly.
one of
If you're
the
lucky.
reviews. But don't take that for granted. And it might not happen at all.
Yeah.
It's a case of, yeah, you've got to be realistic with what you want to achieve. And like, this is the thing, like I set myself a target with my podcast to do between 52 episodes and 100 episodes for the year 2020. And like, it was like, the reason why I did 50, like said 52, if I was just going on the low side, like I got 52 episodes in the can, see where I am, go for it. And the high side, I was like, yeah, if I did have a chunk of time, I would just like get at it and like see what happens. And I would say I have not gone at 100%, but I'm like, yesterday was my 110th episode, and
Exactly.
I've got another episode to do tomorrow, which will be like 111. By the time the end of next week, I must already be on 115.
Yeah.
It's a case of, right, it's someone, I set realistic targets, didn't set targets for money. I didn't set targets for
Exactly.
subscribers. I was just like, okay, let me do the things I can control.
You're
And I
laying the
can
foundation.
control, yeah, getting guests on, doing episodes. These are things I can control. Number of subscribers, I can set myself a target but getting someone to subscribe to what you're doing can be tricky. Like saying I want to earn X amount of money on the podcast without having X amount of subscribers, X amount of listens, it is going to be like tricky. And like this is the thing, there's stuff I need to learn on that side of things to make the podcast grow. But what I can do, I can go, yes, I want to do this many episodes. I can control that. I can make that happen. And yeah, I'm going to say, got about 35 days, 36 days left of this year.
Yes.
And I've like exceeded the target I set myself.
That's fantastic. That's really good to know. Now, your guests tend to be all over. You've got athletes and, you know, but I want to talk to you about you. From looking at you, I know you're a fitness buff, and I recently read something about you before we talk travel and your favorite places to go. And I know you've been to the US. And first, let me ask you this. You were born and bred in Britain, right? And do you speak any Yoruba at all?
No, I do not. No.
Oh, shame. No, just kidding.
Oh no, like this is the thing. My mother was like trying to learn English as much as she could at that time. So she just was like, 100% focused on doing that. Rather than someone who's like come into a country or a society and not 100% with like the actual language. She was like, yes, focus on that. And it didn't like that sort of formative years where you can pick up languages like at a drop of a hat. That didn't happen for me. So I have no problem.
Okay. So have you ever been back? Have you ever been to Nigeria actually?
Last time I was back in Nigeria, I was, I think 12 at the time. Okay. So yeah, let's just say I was in Nigeria for like in the 80s. So I went over and visited in the 80s. And when I was there, like it's one of the things I think people say, if you went to Nigeria in the 80s and you didn't have a change of government or a coup, you didn't go to Nigeria in the
80s. We have had quite a few,
yeah.
You had two?
Last time, two. 1986.
Wow.
If I remember rightly. Yeah. The actual year the Nigerian youth team won the World Cup. And yeah, it was like coming out of a coup just then. I was like, okay.
Go back home, right? I know a lot of people, and it's just funny because you find a lot of people here who are Americans who were born and raised, you know, in America or British or, you know, and they think about expat life. And a lot of them think, how come nobody ever goes to the motherland, and how come nobody even moves to Nigeria? And I try to tell them, you know how expensive it is for one thing, and there's so many things that you are not used to, and it's a whole different world. But they just think like you're what's the word? Not chickening it out, you're selling out or something by going like moving to Europe or something like that. How do you feel?
No, like this is the thing. What I would simply say is like there are some people out there who look at they look at Africa and go, and they look at it through these idealist eyes and like right. One, there is like this is the things what kind of sometimes annoy me. There's these misconceptions about like what Africa is about. Africa is like advanced and it's doing a hell of a lot better than some places.
Most definitely. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Two, like, okay, if you think it's going to operate like it does in the West, you are sadly mistaken. Yeah. And look, and like this is the thing, and you go, what do you mean by that? Look, there is a realm of corruption which goes on.
Yes.
And look, anyone can come at me and go, you're wrong about that. No.
There is stuff that goes on. It's a fact. We know.
Yeah.
But what I do say about the corruption there is like, at least we know who our corrupt ones are, and everybody knows. And the mentality is almost like, we know you're going to steal, but don't take everything, which they do anyway, as opposed to the West where they pretend to be so first world class, but they still do the same thing.
Yeah. And like the whole thing is like, there is a lot of potential in Africa to like go onto some extraordinary level. And like Nigeria, I can see that being like a future tech hub down the line. But don't
For now.
okay, yeah. Just like be real about what Nigeria is and what it's like, because look, it's a great place you can go, visit, live, set up businesses if you want. But you got to remember, you're not going to be playing by necessarily the same rules as where you came from, and
Right? And you
drop the
must have
Roman.
the funds. Don't
Yeah,
think, a lot of people think, oh, because it's Africa, my dollar will stretch so much that, you know, I'll be able to afford a house as opposed to a one bedroom or whatever. And they get to Lagos and see that, you know, unless you're with 10 people in a room, you can't afford to live because it's super expensive. You could get a one
yeah,
bedroom in Lagos for like 17, 18, 2,000, dollars. So
yeah.
yeah.
But this is one of the things which is the misconception, because look,
Yes.
you go look. I was in Nigeria, as I said, in the 80s, right? Like visiting my uncle, my cousin, and it was like, yeah, where they were living was like very nice.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like he was upper middle class kind of thing. Then we like visited hit like a second cousin who basically, right, working like his dad working for Texaco higher up. And then we lost like, okay, we drove onto like a compound where like basically just like the streets all changed, and all the houses you saw in this area, you could easily take them from where they were in Nigeria, put them in Miami, put them in Los Angeles, and they
Mm-hmm.
would not look out of place. That's the
Exactly.
sort of rocking brawler standard it was. So if anyone goes, there's not no money, there is lots of money
Oh
out
yeah.
there. It's just a case of pay attention, and look,
Yeah.
things just operate differently. So
Yes.
like, so if you're gonna go out there and go, yes, this is it's good to be in the motherland again, blah blah.
Yeah.
No, drop that. Get off
Exactly.
your little romantic like cloud and
Yeah.
just be real, and you'll learn a lot more, and I think you'll appreciate life a lot more out there.
Definitely. I'm glad you mentioned appreciating life because I think a lot of people, because they're so used to the the first world amenities and everything, they take everything for granted. And when you visited, like you went to Nigeria and you saw the difference, yeah, you saw the rich people, but it doesn't take long to see the poor people as well. So it really
Oh yeah.
does give you an appreciation for life, doesn't it?
Well, like put it this way, like it's one of those things where you are quite aware of a different standard. And like this is the thing. When like I got to say, I wasn't super aware, but I was aware of like, okay, I'm walking down the street of Lagos, and right next to me is like an open sort of gutter. Like some can be completely dry, and some can be like, oh my God, what
Yeah.
is in there? Do not fall in there, because
Yeah. Yeah.
no. But the sort of like, yes, being, if you're well off, yeah, you're well off.
Life is
If you're not, but yeah. But if you're trying to get around Lagos and you're in a go slow, that a go slow for people out there is a traffic jam.
yes.
Believe you me, yeah, like everyone's pretty much equal. The only
yeah.
difference is, yeah, air conditioning, which didn't exist in the
In those
80s
days, yeah.
in most
so,
vehicles. Yeah.
so you were just sweating, and that's it. Yeah, that's a go
Oh
slow
yeah.
already.
Yeah.
Yeah. People
But
are
like,
like, "Oh my God, the traffic is so bad." I'm like, "You have no idea."
yeah, you know what? Like, as a former Los Angeles, no, Los Angeles,
Angelino, Angelino.
yeah, yeah, you must know, like, you know something of the
I
traffic
know
jam
traffic.
out there.
Yes.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
so yeah, it's pretty bad. Now, I know you've been to Nigeria. Where else have you been? I know you've been to Houston, right? You've been to the US, right?
I've I've only been to the east coast of the United States. I haven't been like any further. Like the furthest I would say west I've been was like maybe in Virginia. But like
Okay.
this is the thing, I've been from Virginia up to Boston. visiting, but like I was working in summer camps in the 90s in Washington, like well, in Virginia and upstate New York. Upstate New York was for an organization called the Fresh Air Fund. They basically, if you've watched Eddie Murphy, I think it was Raw, he talks about like how the Fresh Air Fund sent him away to like staying with a white family for a period of time, and it kind of blew his mind. But they
I
also
I
do summer camp.
I sort of remember that. Is that where? Oh no, that's not the one with the Sasquatch. Like, I
Oh
remember
no, no, well,
watching
that's
Raw.
funny.
That
Yeah,
was in there, but it wasn't that little bit.
yeah.
I really
Mm.
liked that Raw. That was when Eddie was at his best. Now,
Oh
what
yeah.
do you think of Boston versus, where you are? You're in Middlesex, right?
I'm in London, and
Oh,
like
you're
this is the
in
thing.
London, London.
Yes, and
Oh,
like this is the thing. Like Boston, from what I like saw of Boston, it is much more of a sort of European-centric city. Compared to like say the likes of like sort of Baltimore or like sort of Washington DC or even New York. So it's like Boston is its own thing entirely. I think there was I'll tell you a story in a moment,
mm.
but yeah, I would say going to Boston, it's very nice, like, but it doesn't sort of strike you with the same awe as going to New York when you sort of come out and you're just like the first, like you can't help but do it as a like new visitor. You come out and just basically you're surrounded by buildings and you just look up like, oh my God, what is it? So yeah,
It was
like
quite
a
an
bit of shock.
experience. I know what you're talking. As somebody who, like, when I left Nigeria, the first place I lived in the U.S. was Boston. So that's
Mm,
basically where I grew up and got my formation. I was there till I was 20, I think, before I moved to LA. And yeah, it's exactly like you say. It's the town, the row houses, and the vibe feels more like old money.
mm,
It reminds you of London in some ways. Now it's so funny because you live in. If I had to pick like my top three places to live, London
yeah.
would be in the top three. So you live in like my dream city. Now, what would be your top city? Like, what would you say, I would love to live here?
Now, you see, this is one of those questions where, okay, if you asked me this when I was in my 20s, I'd be like, okay, yeah, I'd love to live in New York. I'd love to live in I'd love to live in, say, Sydney, or I would like to live. That is like because of just the sort of potential vibe and everything like this. Now, kind of like in my 40s, like thinking about that, it's a tough one because like I'm like Londoner, born and raised, and like, yeah, and I look upon this city and like I have great reverence for this place. But I would say with regards to 2020 and all its fun and games and stuff like that, yeah, it's like it's one of those things where okay, living in an apartment, a flat in London, even though we've like been quite blessed with having a sizable flat,
Mhm.
you kind of like go, yeah, I would like to have a little bit more, if you get what I mean.
Yes.
So, and plus, I'm not this sort of like, yes, let me go out and hit the town type person as I was. So I am kind of at this moment in time, I'm not too sure where I would like to go. Yeah, where I'd like to say this is my next like home, because I think that's one of those things where I think this year has put me in a realm of flux where I'm not too sure if it's like this or like that. But wherever I end up next, I would say, yeah, if it can be a house with a garden with space and stuff like this, um, I might not be in London. It might because like just for that sort, if you think the prices are bad,
Yeah.
somebody
Uh-huh.
like the prices,
Uh-huh.
yeah. And let's just say 1.5 million doesn't get you,
Get you anything. I know.
yeah. If you
My
want,
dream place is Knightsbridge or Chelsea. Either one of those two. I don't want to live anywhere else in London except for those two places. Maybe Battersea, maybe, but really. those two places will be it. So, it's just a dream for me, right? That's why it's just a dream.
Well, yeah, you know what? Yeah, that's a dream for a lot of people because wow, you know, you're not like when you're talking about Knightsbridge or Chelsea, even Battersea, you're like talking
I know.
oh,
I can
oh.
imagine. I would only settle for that one. I want just the top two. That's it. I
Wow.
don't,
All I'd simply say is, yeah, you can move to the south of France,
yeah.
somewhere not too far away from the beach, maybe for like a lot less money. Just
Exactly.
like,
That's why it
but
remains a dream, right?
yeah, well, like you know what? This is the thing. Like you never know. Like put that little bit of focus into it. Yeah, you might be able to turn that dream into reality. It
But
comes down
no,
to
nah. I think I like the idea more of being in love with the idea of being there, It just gives me
mm,
something because really, truth be told, I'm very happy where I am with what I'm doing at this stage but I feel like if you don't always have something to aspire to, it's just like when I was younger, my dream was to have a Mercedes-Benz S500. So I went through a whole lot of cars that were close to it, and I could have
mm,
gotten one, but I didn't because if I did, then I wouldn't have anything else to look forward to, if that makes any sense. So I had like a
okay.
BMW 540 with the M, I was like, but it was as close that I wanted to get, but I could not do that final stage because it
Right.
would mean like the end of the dream. And I think as a human being, at least for me, I always need something there. So that's what my London is.
Mhm. So your London is the constant quest for that, and like basically, hey, you could like you may get that money to sort of 10 times over to get your London place, but you will never do it
I
because it
wouldn't,
means
yeah, exactly. I would never pull the trigger. Yeah.
uh,
So
no, I
for
get that.
you, could it be London, but in the suburbs? So you still remain in the country, or you think it would be someplace far away?
Like this is the thing with regards to that, it might be the suburbs, it might be further away. Um, a, l- a lot has changed with the city with 2020. I'm not gonna just say it's just 2020. Like it's a lot has changed with
Yeah,
me
it's
as time.
bubbling and it's okay.
Yeah, and I think 2020 like it has been I think a leap of point. I think it's going to be a leap of point for many person out there. And I think with regards to myself, it might be a leap of point for something down the line. I'm not going to go. This is definitely going to happen, but
Yeah.
I think it's a case of it's a leap of but. A leap of point for this, it might be a leap of point for that, a
Yeah.
number of different
It
things.
has you thinking, yeah, because it's been a strange year indeed for
Oh yeah,
everyone. So I can understand that. Now,
yes.
I know you're a health nut, right? And you love working out. I've
How
seen some of
dare
your
you?
videos on Facebook, and I'm like, how can this guy lift this kettle thingies and this thing that look like big balls of
No, that's a kettlebell. And look,
kettlebell.
yeah, but you know what I mean? Like health nut. How dare you, my lady? How dare you?
Oh, so you don't
I
consider
think,
yourself a health nut. And the reason I say that, okay, the reason I
uh,
say that is because I know you're doing this marathon thing, to help, and I want to talk about that, to help veterans, right, who have PTSD.
like I basically what I've been doing this year, I've been doing 61 push-ups a day for the last 330 days,
Mm-hmm.
going up to 366 days to raise awareness for soldiers with PTSD. Uh, the reason why I didn't put a fundraiser onto that is because I it is weird, but there are some people which get funny about that for this particular thing. So like I don't know why. It's just the way it is because some people are like, yeah, like they signed up for that. Blah, blah, blah. It's like
Yeah.
no, like they've done the brave thing to serve their countries respectively. And look, a lifetime of mental troubles is not what they kind of signed on for. It was a case of that's the shitty hand they
Yeah,
were dealt.
they were
Uh,
dealt. Yeah.
and so I've just been trying to raise awareness for that with like for soldiers. With the regards to the Paris Marathon, that's more of a personal thing, just to get the marathon done and dusted. I'm not too sure if I will be doing a sponsorship with that, but I like it's one of those things. Come the new year, I might be like, okay, yes. I might,
So
if I was going to put a sponsorship to it, it might be for bowel cancer or something like that.
so the Paris Marathon, is that you want to run the marathon in Paris, or you're running the distance that it would be? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Basically, I signed up for the Paris Marathon this year for
Okay.
2020, but alas, everything was like, yeah,
Exactly.
cancelled.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm. Uh, so, like, I shall be, like, I'm still registered for the Paris Marathon, and so I should, like, still have a place to enter the 2021 Paris Marathon. If, fingers crossed that everything
Will be.
is still running.
Yeah.
Um, if not, what I'll end up still doing, I'll just simply like, oh, sorry, I'll run the distance like here or wherever, just like, okay, and
And
just do it that way.
and how long is that? 26 miles? I don't know what that converts to in kilometers for
Uh,
you.
20, turns into 26 kilometers of fun and games. And if you want to do it with European, it's 42 kilometers.
Okay.
Uh, so
Wow.
yes.
So a long
Mm.
distance. Yeah. So, and you still don't think you're a fitness nut, right? Even with
No,
that.
no, no, no. This is the thing. Look, like anyone can do it. Like basically, look, with a little bit of training, with a little bit of practice, anyone can do it. It just comes down to look. There is nothing intrinsically special about doing that sort of distance. It's just a case of look, get out there, put your shoes on,
Yeah.
get out there, do one run.
I saw.
Okay, then do another run and then another run and basically build yourself up. And when it comes to the actual day itself, you can run the whole distance. You can like run half of it, walk the rest of it, but you can get it done. We designed to do this.
I saw a movie recently called Brittany Runs a Marathon, and I thought,
Yeah.
oh, it was on Netflix, and it actually turned out to be a good movie. And it's like you said, she was just unhappy, and she's like, yeah, I want to start running. And one day she's like, she could barely go down the steps, and like
Yep.
it goes over a year or something, and she actually ran the marathon. So it was very inspiring, and I thought, oh, good for her, but I would never do that, So, but
But like this is the thing. Look, I'm doing the marathon. It could be someone else wants to start their own business. It could be someone else wants to travel somewhere. It comes down to look. There are certain things you can like do at a drop of a hat. If I told you to run 100 meters, you could run 100 meters. If I told you to run a mile, you most already could just run a mile. If I told you to run 10, you might have to go, yeah, I need
yeah,
to
no.
like get uh, yeah, but it comes down to like this. If like with regards to you've bought a number of properties in your time, like if I told you to when you first set out on the like doing that for your first property, if I told you the first day when you're like, yeah, I'm gonna get this property, yeah, do it. You might be like, I need to save a little bit more for that
Yeah,
deposit
exactly.
to happen. You're like, okay. A year later, you're like, oh, right. Uh, buy a property. Yes, I've got the deposit saved, can go
Okay.
forward with it. But
It's true.
it's a
It's
case of you just put some money aside, tightened your belt when you had to, and went with it. And
yeah,
like it's a case of it wasn't a first day thing, it wasn't a second day thing. It took
true.
time
Hmm.
again and again to develop that. And yeah, you made it happen to
That's
such a
very true.
point right now
Yeah.
that you now live in Europe.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know what I mean?
And
You're
if I
like,
can do it, pretty much anybody can do it too.
no. And like, so this is the thing. Anyone can do it. They just need to
Yes.
put their minds to it.
Yes,
Hey,
definitely. Now, how did you come up? Why did you pick the veterans, for instance, to bring awareness to? What was it that attracted you to that?
like there was like a push-up challenge some about 3 years ago where you had to do 22 push-ups a day for like 22 days. And like I was like, okay. And did like did that, no problem. And then like about a year later, I did another one where I just went, okay, 22 push-ups a day for the rest of the year. I started sort of in February and I did it for the rest of the year. This time around, I was like, okay, let's do it for the whole year. like see if we can bring like some awareness, and basically take it from there. I have another idea which I'm going to do like come the new year, but yes, I'm gonna keep wraps on that.
Oh,
And then
cool.
yeah. So yes,
I'm looking forward to hearing about it and seeing it. Now, why
uh,
did you pick 61 specifically? Why not 60? Why not 56? Why not
uh,
22 for the number of suicides by
yeah, because it
veterans?
will get me over 22,000 push-ups over the course of the year.
Ah, okay. Yeah, because I that was very outside, it just seems like a random number, an odd number, and I was wondering why, but that makes sense. So that's good.
Yeah.
That's it's definitely working because I'm aware of it now, and hopefully people watching this video will be aware of it too. As you said on your blog in on Facebook, there are 22 suicides a day in the
Yeah.
UK.
Well, basically, like U.S. veterans, yes, 22, and like the whole thing is like, look, I have never served in the UK military, or I have never served in any military. But one of the things I often see, and I see it on the news, and I see it on documentaries, and I hear stories about it, is like basically people serve their countries, they basically go off, they fight our wars, they like protect our interests, they like do like building schools, like not always combat, building schools, peacekeeping, aid, help all over the world. But soon as they leave service, they become the quickly forgotten, and you kind of
Yes.
look upon it, go, what's happened?
Yeah.
And look, a number of people who are sadly homeless, uh, some of them have served.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean, with regards to sort of PTSD and everything like that, which is a mental health issue where you can't get over something which, look, I can only imagine what
Exactly.
what sites they've seen, which can put them in that position. It's like trying to get your life in order, like where nothing is like plaguing your thoughts or memories or dreams or anything like that, is hard in itself. But with that sort of added burden,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
sorry, but it's
Yeah.
like, look, it's not going to be something which you can go, yeah, just sort yourself out.
Yeah, exactly. Which seems to be what the message is. Yeah, you've served, thank you, but now go and join society as if nothing happened. I mean, you talk about the horrors of war. I mean,
Oh,
really, for young people and older people, and they go see all this stuff, and then you expect them to just integrate back into society as if nothing happened, but it's not going
mm.
to happen. Whether it's drug abuse, alcoholism, there's so many different things, and they don't seem to get as much help as they should. So it's good
Mm.
that you're bringing awareness.
So yeah, it's a little thing I can do to help. And like, yeah, hopefully someone else will like pick up the baton
Pick up
after
the.
I've stopped, and then take things forward from there.
I'm actually going to share it on my Facebook because I think it's something people should be aware of, and it's a very good cause. So good on you. I'm glad.
Likewise.
Now, the last thing I know I told you about a half an hour, but here we go. Now, what do you like to do as far as hobbies? What are some of the hobbies that you enjoy apart from the gym?
Like, well, this is the thing, like with regards to my sort of hobbies, like if I would had any sort of hobby, it would be like more sort of movie based, if it wasn't a case of working out. So I like watching a movie here and there, like TV shows here and there. So like I would say over this pandemic period, Netflix has been a
I
like
got
trusty friend. Yeah. Yeah, one of the shows I've watched recently is being called "We Are the Champions,"
Oh,
and like, yeah, like basically it's all of these sort of weird traditions what go on all around the world. Like basically they have like there's this thing where they roll a cheese down a hill in the
oh,
UK.
I've never heard of that. Yeah.
And basically you have people chasing after this cheese.
See,
And
look, it
like,
already sounds funny.
oh yeah. Now there is a lass on this called Flo. I've got to say, like she has rapidly become my girlfriend's hero. I, as I go, oh yeah. I like, yeah, if anything, one of our, like, if we have daughters, one of them will be named Flo after her,
Flo,
because,
yeah,
wow,
really.
yeah, that was episode 1. Episode 2, it was like this chili eating competition. I was like, oh my God. Then what was episode 3? Episode 3, it was, I mean, Jesus. I mean, I was like, oh my God. Wow.
I have
Like
to
they,
check it out because I'm always
oh
looking for something to watch.
yeah, oh yeah, please. If it's on, I fingers crossed it's on in net, like in your part of the world. But they had this hair competition. I can't remember, like,
Oh, well, that has nothing to do with me.
well, no, like I think it was held in Philadelphia or something like this. And I mean, oh my God, like, like some of the things they did as a spectacle was just amazing. So like, yeah, all I would say is there are 2 more episodes. I would say, yeah, go out, watch that. And like, yeah, that's some of the things that I do to sort of kick back, because like, yeah, I would say podcasting as well, but I can't really, like, it's kind of a hobby, but it's more of a sort of aspiration
Yeah.
for like, yeah, something bigger. So yeah.
Good. Now it's funny because I was actually going to end things with one last question. I know one of the things you had asked was, what do you think is the best action scene in any movie? So it's good that you actually brought up movies, because you asked that question, and I want to know, what is your favorite action movie scene, like the best?
Well, like there are so many, so
Yep.
many. Now, like this is the thing. Okay, now if you want, whew, if you want an action scene which basically like kicked on a next level for films,
Mm-hmm.
then you got to look at the Matrix lobby scene where they're going through, running through, shooting
Uh-huh.
up
And
that
she
whole
goes up the
area.
side. Yeah.
Yep. Like that is like, it was like, okay, very stylized, very like guns with like gunplay, everything like this. Now, if you want like, whew, if you want action scene which basically shows you sort of next level on the sort of martial arts front, uh, the raid the raid 2, basically in there where they're fighting in the kitchen, like it's like
Oh.
right at the end, and like basically these 2 guys, I mean, like I watched the raid 2 in North London in a like cinema, in a cinema Cineworld in Wood Green. Now, Wood, North London, Wood Green, and I got to say, if your film sucks, basically the crowd are very vocal about it. They're talking, like you'll hear people like, you'll like, you're just like, right. But watching this action scene, I was like, oh my God. I was like, oh my God. And like basically people clapped at the end of it. That's how
Ah,
good it
it
was.
was.
So
I have
Raid
to, I
2,
think I watched the first one, but I don't think I watched the second one. So I gotta write it down here so I can catch it and see what it's
yes,
all about, really. Because for me,
got it.
lately, I think probably the best, one of the best ones, was in the original Equalizer with Denzel, like the last scene where the guy went into the home improvements and
Yeah.
he had the gun thing with the music. Everything just worked really well there. And
Mm.
then I'm reaching back for years, but this is one of my favorite. I was a big Chow Yun Fat uh,
Ah,
lover. I mean, the
hard
killer,
boiled.
you know, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Hardball. That is the best movie ever,
Nah, like,
ever.
yeah, no, there was this little segment in Hard Boiled where, okay, the guy is on the floor on all fours, and like someone shoots and he does this flip
Flip.
or spin or something like this. I was like, I'm sitting there like going, how the fuck did he do that? Like my friend,
Exactly. Oh
he
my God.
wound it and we played it back again, and we're like, I still don't know how. Rewound,
Exactly.
yeah. Oh, yeah, very good film.
Oh my
Classic.
God. Yeah, it's oh, I can't say it. I've seen it like so many times. I haven't seen it recently, but I've seen it so many times. And I just was like, oh my God. This to
Mm,
me is like what a movie should be like. It used to be The Killer, but then I saw Hardboiled. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, I
uh,
have to switch, you know, but
Yeah. No, like this is the thing. Like I got to say, with regards to action movies, so much has gone on like through that. I look, my sort of first introduction to sort of the action movie genre was Commando, with like Arnold
I know
Schwarzenegger.
Schwarzenegger. Oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
we
I
just watched
was
it like 3 weeks ago.
like I was around my like I was like around my stepsisters for Christmas, and I was like, yeah, okay. And like, she goes, yeah, what films you on? And I went, yeah, I went, yeah, this one. Come on. No
Yes,
idea who Arnold Schwarzenegger was. All I saw was he like this. Oh, it was like, okay, this one. Like,
exactly. Packed and ready to go.
yeah.
I actually did a blog post on my top 10 Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. I love him. I mean, I don't agree
Uh,
with his personal life, but as far as his movies, I like quoting it. I like, I get a kick out of like, I just love him. But
uh,
good to
awesome. Awesome.
know.
Yeah. Anyone who can like swing out of a little hut after it's been shot about 100 times, take out two people with like one with a disc saw and the other one with like a sander, like to the
I'm
skull.
there for that. I'm there for that.
Yeah.
It's like people are like, "Oh, have you seen?" I was the person that went to Titanic on a day and was like booing through the whole thing. I was just like, "You should have seen people around me." Well, like, I was like snapping back at the screen. I'm like, "What a horrible, sucky movie!" I'm like, "Just die already, all of you." I just totally did not get it. I hate
Already.
those kind of, I
Like,
hate those movies. Like, I just like, it's like, oh, we're praying before we get thrown into the river. I'm like, I would just be there and push you all. I took longer for the movie to like watch the movie than it took for the Titanic to actually sink. It was that bad. I was just like, ugh. So I am not a romantic at all. I only like action movies. So
like, it was all about the backstory and context. Forget that.
yeah, exactly. No, I want action. I want, like I always describe it, like I want 1,000 bullets, one guy, and he kills
Mm,
1,000 people, but nobody dies. That's my kind of perfect movie. So
fair enough. Fair enough. Like, hey, love that. Love
I
that
actually have
indeed.
a Romanian friend, and the first time we're thinking about going to Romania, I was all like, I want to, and he's like, what do you want to see? Like I'll arrange, and I go, can you show me like anywhere where they filmed like any of the action movies from like all the B movies like Jean Claude and where they filmed
Yeah.
in Romania, and he's like, I don't know where. I'm like, oh.
Ah, like, yes.
So
Ah, yes. Also, like, one of the best, like, two films. Well, basically, same actor. Like, two best, like, the best intro for a superhero and the best sequel for a superhero movie. Who do you think it is?
superhero movie.
Yes. You might like go, but if you watch it, like you
Oh
would like
yeah.
appreciate Jackson. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I would say probably.
You got to
Wow.
think 90s for this.
I know, I'm trying to think now. Like,
Hmm.
I would say, I mean, because if I had to pick a superhero, you wouldn't hear me. Even though I do like Captain America and the War of the last one, you know.
Yes. Infinity
But
War. Yeah.
I think Blade. That's what I would say.
Well, basically, yes, it is Blade. Blade 1, yeah, intro,
Oh
and
my
then Blade 2 as the sequel.
Oh
Like,
my
yeah,
God. I didn't
like,
think the second one was as good as the first one, but my God, the
oh,
first
no.
Blade was the most exciting thing ever. I just
How,
loved it.
how dare you? The second Blade film was awesome.
I was too, with the whole story with the girl. Like,
No,
my
like,
husband is always like, "You're a woman hater," because every time I'm like, the girl plays the girlfriend. I like it when they're like really strong. Like, I don't know
yeah.
if you watch Priest.
Yes, I seen Priest.
Exactly, like the girl, the priestess. Now there is a strong woman. Flying Tiger. I like Michelle Yeoh. I like all her
Yeah,
movies. I'm a big fan, but I like them to be strong. I don't like the ones that come in and it's like yeah, yeah, yeah. So she was strong, but not that strong.
yeah. Now this is the thing. Like, forget about the love story, like beeline storyline. Like, when it came to the action scenes between, like, okay, Wesley Snipes and Luke Goss. And like the only
Yes.
reason why I know that like the actual character was the actor's name's Luke Goss,
Oh yeah.
because back in the 80s, him and his twin brother were part of this like boy band called Bros, just the two of them. So it was like, yeah, all the
Never heard.
girls used to swoon. Yeah, you know, if you're in the States, be thankful you haven't heard of them.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, don't waste your time on it. It was just like watching the fight scenes go down. It was like, this is Luke Goss. That was my first
Oh
reaction.
wow!
And
I got the first blade. There's no there is no there is just no. So I'm like, when you said superhero, I'm like, it better be Blade, but then who knows? It may be one of these Marvel people, which are good too.
like Blade is Marvel. Got to remember that. It was like,
Yes, well, that's
or
true.
anything
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. Yes, you could say he was the character what started it all, because everyone,
Yes.
if you can have this guy who no one really knows about,
Yeah.
what can you do with a character everyone knows
Everybody
about?
knows. I know. I like. I wouldn't mind if there was a Spawn too, to tell you the truth. I like
You
that.
know, yeah, as much as I would like to see that, I don't think that'll
Happen.
happen anytime soon. I think it's a case of if they try to do another Spawn thing, it might be served as a TV show. It's just a
Yeah,
case of,
maybe. Yeah. Oh,
don't
that's
know if
okay.
I don't know if they'll have the sort of time to tell the whole
To do
story
that.
properly
Yeah.
and give it, because
Yeah.
if well, like the first Spawn film, I liked it, but it was kind of like, yeah.
It was okay. Okay. No, I
Yeah,
liked it a lot. I liked it a lot. I like that actor. I've seen a few movies of his. And
yeah.
even recently, I am one that will find that I look for those B movies so I can watch it. As long as it's action, I'll be looking for it. And I even
Yeah.
try and watch like sometimes they're not available in anything but the original language. So I'm trying to watch like Jean-Claude Van Damme in French, but I'm like, I just want the action scenes because I'm so desperate for it.
Like this is the thing. Oh God, like throwing back to some of the old films, like in the 80s and stuff like this, they had their sort of own charm, the sort of
Yes.
80s and 90s sort of
Yes.
action film
Yes.
flicks, which I don't think you can kind of get today. Like
No.
people still hunger for it. This is the reason why the Expendables was like
Yes.
everyone
Which
lapped
I
that up.
love.
Yep. And like this is the thing, each as each edition of the Fast and Furious films which come out, which get more and more preposterous and
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I
Like,
know. He's gonna become a
yeah.
god soon.
Well,
He's gonna
look,
fly.
look, what I saw in the last trailer for the one which is coming out maybe in
Yeah.
2021 or 2022. Look, people are getting hit by cars and like shaking it off, falling off buildings,
I
like
haven't
shaking it
seen that. So.
off. You just fell off that building. Fine, let's go. Yeah.
Well, Muyiwa, thank you so much for being on the show. This has been great. I could go on and on, especially when you start talking about movies, but let's just end there. Otherwise, it's going to be
Hey,
like the longest show ever. I think it already is the longest show ever, but I enjoyed every second of it. So thank you
hey,
so much for coming on.
no problem. Pleasure is all mine. And yeah, by all means, if you want to find me, please go to the Day In, Day Out podcast. I'll be there. And yeah, I'll be there to mildly entertain you with a number
And
of different.
you're on, and you have the YouTube channel as well. Don't forget to mention that. And they
Oh,
can find
yes,
you there too.
absolutely. Day in, day out. And you should be able to find me as well. And yeah, yeah,
Be
anywhere you
awesome.
need to find me, that'd be great. But yeah.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Ah,
Well, everybody listening, thank you for joining me on the show. We'll hear you or see you on the next one. And don't forget to subscribe to the Next Bite of Life podcast, wherever you're listening, be it on Spotify, iTunes, etc. We're everywhere. And check out the YouTube channel as well. And Next Bite of Life expats in Spain. We'll be right there.